So per your resource, we have our first scenario, which I'm going to move my Zoom window for. Okay, so in this first scenario, uh, we're going to talk about feedback and how that lands differently for different teammates. So the setup here is the manager of a team gives direct, efficient feedback in a team meeting. There's one teammate that appreciates the clarity. There's another that goes quiet and disengages for the rest of the meeting. Um, no one is really in the right or wrong here. It's just, we're going to learn that people are hardwired different. Um, and the manager is walking out of that meeting, um, thinking about how the feedback landed between the two different teammates and some ways that they can better understand the people they were meeting with and maybe how to improve for the next time that this has to come up. So we've got a couple of different tools here in Cloverleaf that I think will help enhance this interaction the next time it comes up, or preparing for it and reflecting on this first one is another way to say that. So um, with that, there's a couple of things that I will highlight here. So one, because we're leaning into being an AI coach, there's some discover prompts that you'll see peppered throughout these different scenarios. So we've prepared some different discover prompts that you can use in your interactions leading up to your meeting, or maybe reflecting on after the meeting. So we'll start here with discover, which if you can see my screen, this is kind of our home page essentially. Um, and then what I'll do is I will think about the teammate that disengaged. And maybe I want to think about maybe I caused them some conflict. So what I'm going to do is pull up my dummy account, pull up one of my dummy teammates here. And maybe I perhaps had struck a nerve with Jordan. Not quite sure. So I can use Discover to learn a little bit more about that teammate and kind of dive into uh, some things that might cause Jordan some conflict. So with that, I can get this response here after typing that in. I don't have to at mention anybody or anything. I love that it's very, I can talk to that as if I were a human. I love that Cloverleaf shows its work here. It cites its sources, which is very cool. So Jordan might prefer to step back before responding. So this is pulling from Jordan's introversion 16 types. Jordan tends to pause and reflect before responding to conflict, often preferring written communication to organize thoughts clearly. So this is perhaps why I had my teammate shut down. Maybe I'm reading it the wrong way, and Jordan is just digesting the information before preparing a response, or maybe charging forth with a response rather than, Jordan tends to pause, reflect, and collect their thoughts. Um, Maybe Avery, as the person I'm logged in as, was kind of expecting more of an immediate reaction or some immediate thoughts or follow-up. So there are a couple of other Discover prompts that I've loaded into the resource, but this is just one jumping off point where if I'm reflecting on this, I can ask Discover this question. There are some elements where I can dive deeper built into the response here. There's some follow-up questions. There's some ways that I can apply this. And then maybe going into my next meeting with Jordan, I have a space here where I can take notes, and all those notes live under your grow section over here on the left under notes. So if there's something that as Avery wants to jot down a quick note about, hey, Jordan is going to want to digest the information before responding, that's a good kind of takeaway for me to utilize this notes feature for. So as mentioned, there's a couple of other prompts in the resource to help you get started, but you're definitely not limited to those. I'm going to jump into another way that you can use Cloverleaf on the team dashboard with Jordan. So in this, Jordan actually reports to Avery. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the reporting teams feature. If you share a team with the person you have in mind, you can use my teams as well. But Avery and Jordan do report to each other. And what I can do over here is in this thinking styles comparison tool, there's some really quick informational bullet points here that I can use to help me prep and reflect after this meeting. So thinking about that teammate that again went silent, I can go ahead and pull up the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is good for learning bits about communication, how they prefer to communicate, their work style, sources of friction and conflict are kind of what I want to focus on. So again, this reinforces my discover prompt that when in conflict, Jordan tends to step back, takes time alone to process thoughts. So it could have been perhaps that Avery said something while delivering this feedback. We don't know the level of severity or how harsh it was or how critical it was, but maybe the feedback did rub Jordan the wrong way, and Jordan shut down and stepped back to take time to process what Jordan was hearing. So this is good to know that Jordan kind of maybe just takes pause and perhaps in my next follow up with them, Avery is can take that information into their next interaction. So with that in mind, as we wrap up this first scenario, we have this feedback feature. So this is perfect for exactly this. Avery is reflecting on this meeting, maybe doesn't really know if it landed the right way. Did Avery come across too harsh? Did Jordan shut down too quick? I can create a feedback request for Jordan, and then the other person that was in the meeting that I didn't really go over too much was we'll just put Kai in here as well, just to kind of demonstrate this feature. I can type in a question here that some of these participants can use, or that I can use with these participants to get some good feedback. So one I've got preloaded here is thinking about my feedback delivery. I can ask them, do you ever notice when feedback delivery doesn't work for you? If so, can you elaborate? So this is really cool. As soon as I send this feedback, Jordan and Kai will get a notification, however they choose to get notifications, if it's Slack or email or both, saying that Avery has requested feedback for you. And I know I focused a lot on Jordan being the quiet one, but Kai might have been the other person in the situation who received it well. And maybe I kind of know Kai's thoughts a little bit more as they were shared in the meeting. So, but I do want to ask them both in the event that when we have to do this again, maybe next month, I can prepare a little bit better, knowing how each person, you know, reacts when feedback is delivered to them. So I'm going to add this question and then create my feedback request. Um, I'm kind of limited here with my real estate here. Checking the chat, see. Cool. All right. Questions look good in the chat here. But yeah, so that's the first scenario that I wanted to go over with you all here. I'm going to move us into the next scenario, which is again sticking with teams here. So the scenario here is, why does our cross-functional team keep misunderstanding each other? Just to give you some preface for the scenario, we've got two teams, marketing and engineering. Marketing says engineering is too slow and rigid. But engineering says marketing is, oh, sorry, it's marketing and product. My mistake. Marketing says product is too slow and rigid. Product says marketing is chaotic and unrealistic. Both teams are frustrated before any work even begins. Um, so it's not necessarily a personality problem. It might be a working style problem that gets mistaken for a personality problem. So there's a couple of different things here in Cloverleaf that you can use to better understand the dynamics between these two teams. And there's one feature in particular that I will start with, and that's our dashboard builder. So dashboard builder lives on the left-hand side under our collaborate section. And what I can do here is create a custom team. So I'm going to just throw in some folks from different teams in our dummy org, and let's make it even. Let's put Cameron in there. What this does is it will walk you through creating a custom team dashboard with the folks that you select. I'm going to close out of this. And what you have here is a custom team built for your reference. So let's assume that these folks both represent product and marketing, and that there's a good mix of the folks that I'm collaborating with from both of these teams on this team dashboard. So from here, there's a couple of different features on this dashboard that I can use to better understand this team. And the first one I'm going to direct you to is this 16 types module. Let me make this window a little bit larger here. Okay. So with 16 types in particular, I want to focus on the energy section. So with 16 types, you have these four different categories that you're assessed on: energy, perception, judgment, and orientation. And it looks like out of the random assortment of people I clicked, we have a 50-50 split between extroversion and introversion. Now, this means where you get your energy. With extroverts, it's being in those social situations, collaborating. Um, with introverts, it's kind of that quiet, that reflection time. And maybe a lot of the extroverted folks, we'll lump them all on the marketing team. They're loud. They want everybody to come and see what they've got to market. And our folks on the product team, we'll kind of lump them with the introverted folks. Not always the case. I'm just generalizing here. So with that, we have a pretty even split between some, I don't want to call them loud, but some more folks that will speak up more in the meetings. And then you have your quiet, introspective people. So as Avery, who represents the product team, he's one of those introverted types. Um, he's down here in the INFJ. Uh, he's likely, like his direct report Jordan is, a little bit more reserved, will reflect upon things during the meeting. So maybe Avery is experiencing a little bit of what Jordan was experiencing in our prior scenario, where the marketing team just wants to go out, they want to generate the leads, they want to promote the company, and they need products buy-in to get some features that marketing can sell. Avery tends to have a quiet space, and the rest of the marketing or product team tends to be in that quiet space operating where they can think and lay some things out. And meeting with marketing can tend to cause some friction here. Some other things to have a better understanding of this team is we're going to jump over to the right-hand side column, and we're going to focus on Culture Pulse. There's a couple of things in Culture Pulse that I want to draw your attention to. And this comes into how we're setting goals and getting to those goals. So there's two categories over here on the Culture Pulse assessment that kind of would help Avery understand the folks that he's collaborating with. So one is organizational control, loose versus strict. So this helps Avery understand how this team approaches how they approach risk and structuring things. Teammates who lean on the loose end embrace that ambiguity, that unpredictability. They prefer to improvise a little bit more. Folks on the strict side kind of like the guardrails. They like the structure. So over here under organizational control, you can see here there's a spectrum between loose and strict. And that's kind of how this assessment is built. Avery actually lives kind of like right in the middle. So it might be a little more situational for him. Some things, maybe like the stuff he does in product, He's very strict. He's got a process. He's got those guardrails. He's got everything in place that he needs to do the things that he needs to do. Whereas on other end of the spectrum, maybe there's another element of his life that's either personal or professional where he's a little more loose with things. But you can see here on this spectrum that uh, depending on what side they fall on, it helps me understand with Noor, for example, she's likely got guardrails and is very structured in her life. There's probably not too much where she just kind of embraces the ambiguity and the uncertainness, the uncertainness. Um, Making up words on this webinar as well today. So this is good for Avery to understand. As I'm collaborating with the folks on this team, it looks like most of us lean towards strict, but there's a few over here that kind of do embrace the uncertainty. The other one I want to direct your attention to is the organizational effectiveness. So this is the means versus the goal, and that is up here. And so we have the task at hand, the goal we're trying to work at. What motivates you to continue? Do you like the process or do you like the end result? Um, I kind of skew towards the goal, but do very much enjoy the process as well. And you can see here that most of this team is very split as well. Most leaning towards goal, but this is good. Nor again, combining with the structure element in her life, she's very much leaning towards the goal orientation as well. She's very much motivated by the end goal. I'd say most of the time she's motivated by the end goal, and she's likely very structured as well. So maybe I lean on Noor to help me craft a meeting agenda that helps keep the meeting on track. So that way, my extroverted friends don't kind of go down a rabbit hole with marketing ideas and diving into trends and things that kind of leave product in the dark a little bit. Maybe I lean on her to help me build an agenda. All right. And then we have some different role takeaways as well that I want to throw out here as well. I forgot to mention that in scenario one, but it is in your resource. So in this scenario, thinking about managers and ICs as well, um, something that a manager can take away from this scenario is to, again, pull this dashboard together using the dashboard builder tool. Take a view of the group where the team, or take stock in the group of where the team is heavy or light in the different categories that we just went over, or where they kind of tend to trend in those directions, and get a big picture of what this team looks like and do exactly what Avery just did with Noor. So we know she's very structured and prefers getting to the goal. I want to have Noor help me craft an agenda. Now, thinking about an individual contributor, and being on a team that feels like they're talking past the other team, as an IC, if you feel like nobody gets your perspective on something, if you're talking over somebody or if no one's hearing you, it's probably real, but you can use the team dashboard builder, much like I just did, to get a better understanding of the folks that you're meeting with, and then take that back into Discover and maybe ask some follow-up questions here as well. The other thing that I will leave you with on this team dashboard is the workaround, if you do want to save this dashboard, is to save it as a bookmark. Save button is coming, but right now we would recommend just bookmarking this so that way you can reference it again in the future. Um, so yeah, I'm going to keep us moving here. Actually, check the chat real quick, see if there's any questions. Feel free to yeah, feel free to shout out any questions that you have here in the chat. All right. I'm going to jump us into scenario three here. So I'm going to start back on discover. This one's a little discover focused. So we're going to think about a new team member and helping them integrate faster. This might be happening in real life with folks on my team right now. Um, how do I help a new team member integrate to the company, to the team faster? So when a new hire joins a team and immediately, now I'm not saying this is actually happening. So we have in our scenario, a new hire joins the team and immediately starts misreading norms, stepping on toes, and missing unwritten rules of how decisions get made. In our scenario, manager as Avery, who I'm logged in as, we hope things click naturally, but peers are waiting to see who this person is, and the new hire is trying to read the room without a map, as we do here. No, we don't. But as you know, you get it. So in this, just a little stat real quick for you. If we jump down into scenario three. So we have research shows that only 12% of employees strongly agree their organization does a great job on onboarding new people. Um, Generic onboarding fails because it does not account for how the specific person fits into the team. Gee, if there was only a tool that could help me better understand the people I work with, whether they're new hires or if I'm joining the new team and getting an understanding of my team. Um, so how is Cloverleaf going to help with a situation like this? So we're going to break this down into three different scenarios here in this scenario. So we're going to assume that we are the new hire and some things that we can do for the new hire. If I've just joined a team, I'm going to want to check out the team. So if I am in the product team, one thing that I can check as a new hire is the Enneagram column or the Enneagram module, sorry. And we're going to take a look at the triads here. So one thing to note about Enneagram and all of the assessments that Cloverleaf offers is that we don't want you or expect you to, or we want you to be an expert, but we don't expect you to be an expert in the assessments that we offer. We really think that Discover does a really good job at breaking down the giant concepts that, run Enneagram and DISC and Culture Pulse and all the other ones that we offer to where the responses give you the information that you need. So with the Enneagram triads, don't feel like you have to know this. I think Cloverleaf does a really good job at explaining what these triads are. So for those who want a quick understanding of this, with Enneagram, you take the assessment and you can get assigned one of 9 types. If you divide those 9 types into 3 different triads, you get this chart right here. So types 8, 9, and 1 will live in the gut triad. Types 7, 6, and 5 will live in the head. And types 2, 3, and 4 will live in the heart. So Avery, as a representative of the gut triad, I'm new to this team. I'm going to check out the other triads. So if I look at the heart where Kai and Riley live, I can see an overview of what this triad does and how they make decisions. That's kind of primarily what the triads measure is where you make your decisions. So if you've ever had somebody say, trust your gut or my gut is telling me, think about that. What's your heart say? What's your head say? Things like that. So you'll get an overview of these triads. You'll get some things that they're really good at. You'll get some things that they might stumble over, some obstacles. But what's really important here is this if not button. So as Avery, who's again in the gut, if I'm not a member of the heart triad, this information right here is going to be really, really important to me. So if I'm not a 2, 3, or 4, I need to make sure that I express my sentiments with these teammates and be willing to share how I feel about situations. Um, and then there's a bit here for if I'm in the gut triad, encourage these teammates to make decisions, even if it will not benefit everyone. Be mindful to communicate thoughtfully so that your heart triad teammates don't take it personally. So, really good information here as I'm getting to know this team. and understanding some of the drivers behind their decision um, or decisions. The heart, or sorry, the Enneagram triads are really good for that. Now, one thing I can do with Discover, so I'm going to grab one of these prompts here. I think I saw Riley in the heart. So I'm going to put Riley in here. Maybe I've got an upcoming meeting with Riley. Riley's our data guy in Clovitech, and Riley's going to introduce to me some of the spreadsheets and data points that Riley goes over with the rest of the company. So I want to understand Riley's approach to decision making. I already know he's in the heart triad, so now I can get a better understanding of some typical patterns, some other things that kind of enforce or go into some of the decisions that he makes here. And then for time, I'm not going to read all of this, but this is just one prompt that lives in your resource that you can use as you're going through the Enneagram triads, um, and kind of getting to know your teammate better as a new hire. All right, so from there, if I'm a manager, I'm going to flip the tables here, and I want to maybe understand. Let's get a different person here. So assuming Avery's the manager, and we're going to assume that Kai is the new hire here. And I want to get to know Kai a little bit better. So one thing I could prompt Discover is to kind of not necessarily predict, but kind of get ahead of any potential misunderstandings that might happen between a new hire and the rest of the team. Maybe Kai comes from a different organization where they did things just a little bit differently. And I want to know if there's anything that might cause some conflict between Kai and the rest of our team here. And again, you have this Discover prompt here that will give you some really good information to go off of to really learn about Kai more and also give you those good heads ups for potential misunderstandings that might happen. So, and then also, we are going to do one last prompt for a teammate. So, let me grab Discover one more time. I'm going to do Kai again. We're just going to pretend that she's the new hire. And now as a teammate, not as Avery the manager, we're going to say as a teammate, how do I build trust with Kai quickly? She's new to the team. We got a lot of deadlines to hit at the end of the week. What can I do to help me build some rapport and some trust with Kai? So again, we have this great Discover prompt here that you can use. There's a couple more for each role in the resource, but just to kind of give you a good idea of that, there is a Discover prompt here. So as a manager in this situation, helping get a new hire acclimated to the team, use Discover to prep for your first one-to-one. Maybe align it, build it around this concept of building trust. Um, Come in already knowing something real about who this person is and how they're wired, and kind of, welcome them. It creates a warm, welcoming presence when you guys can hit the ground running in that conversation and, hit it off that much faster. Really build that trust. Um, so yeah, moving us into our last scenario. Let me check the chat and see if there's any questions. Cool, cool. Stephanie's got it under control. Shout out to Stephanie. She's killing it in the chat. Thank you so much for your questions as we go into our last scenario. Keep them coming if you do have them. Um, so this last scenario here is, again, why is one teammate so quiet in meetings? It's maybe just not one meeting. So thinking about that first scenario, I want to try and create some space between that one and this scenario here. The first scenario was about maybe I created some conflict with the teammate. This one is I'm noticing a pattern. This teammate comes to every meeting and it's crickets. It's quiet. Um, in my team meeting, one person rarely speaks up. The manager assumes disengagement or lack of preparation. Other teammates might be starting to form opinions. Um, but then 2 hours after the meeting, that same person will deliver a detailed, thoughtful email with exactly the ideas the team needed. Um, so this is one of the like a misread pattern in team communication. Some people are wired to observe and reflect before contributing. They're not necessarily disengaged. Um, and then you have other folks that kind of think out loud naturally. And when these two styles kind of share that meaning again, as kind of we've seen throughout the theme of this webinar here, there's some conflict that gets created. And hopefully with Cloverleaf, you've got some really great tools to help you address that conflict and diffuse it and make everybody a little bit more welcome at the table. So in this last one here, we're going to jump into the thinking styles comparison again. So if I go to my team, I picked on Jordan enough. Let me find another introvert real quick. Let's do Quinn. I think it loaded with Quinn. Perfect. Okay. Um, so we're going to look at the thinking styles comparison again. With that setup here, we're going to use 16 types as the assessment of choice. You can do this from 16 types, DISC, Enneagram, or instinctive drives, just as a quick reminder. Each assessment does give you a different set of information. And what we're going to be looking for here is some information about Quinn that will help me better understand why is she so quiet in every meeting. Um, her desired outcome is closure and resolution. Um, she's satisfied when conflict is over. She likes to innovate. She likes to brainstorm. And she's likely to let go of smaller issues to focus on the larger goal. This is really good information here, especially if I'm maybe causing conflict or maybe challenging her authority or knowledge on something. Um, how others perceive her as distant or combative. So the distant one is what I'm really going to focus on here is Quinn's a planner. She might appear distant, but she's planning. She's likely digesting a lot of that information. We've covered this topic already in the other scenarios. So just to kind of give you a setup about Quinn and how she might appear based on her 16 types and how you can use this tool. We'll keep it at that here. But there's some other things that might be causing her to be quiet in some of these meetings. And so we're going to go into this middle column here. And this is probably my favorite tool on Cloverleaf, my favorite module. This is the team rhythms, the best time of day feature. So this is referencing your energy rhythm assessment. And this is going to basically tell you who on your team is a morning person, an afternoon person, or a night owl. And this could have some real impact on why certain teammates tend to be a little bit more quiet. Perhaps it's just not their part of the day. So Quinn is my night owl. And I want to collaborate. And I'm over here maybe trying to collaborate at the end of the day when the rest of my team is in their recovery, which means it's the best time of day for creating tasks, such as researching or generating ideas. Because Quinn is my only night owl, everything is kind of like opposite day for her. She is in her recovery in the morning, and I'm trying to collaborate and do all my collaborating and task creating after lunch. So maybe if there's something that I need to do and get Quinn's involvement on, I need to, as the manager, kind of meet Quinn where they're at. And it's likely the same for data analysis. So we have recovery and we also have peak time. So peak time is the best time for intense, focused tasks that require analytical and strategic brain power. Again, if I'm trying to do this in the morning when I've got everybody's attention, Quinn, likely, again, our quiet one, is not in her peak time. So, this is just a really good visual that I've had a lot of folks say they plan their meetings using this module. And there's a couple of reasons that Quinn might be quiet or seem disengaged. This is a good one to check. It kind of often flies under the radar, I feel like, because we have the Discover tool, which is great. But again, I'm a morning person and Quinn is not. That could be a reason why I feel like I don't have Quinn's attention. So, with that, a couple of takeaways here as the manager. Um, Check the team rhythms. Make sure that we're accounting for everyone's peak and recovery time. And then if you're an IC like Quinn, if you're the person sending those follow-up emails after every meeting, use Discover to find strategies for getting your voice heard in real time. So again, we've got some Discover prompts that you can use as a manager and IC to kind of help you better collaborate with your teammate. Um, but yeah, some really good takeaways here for either managers or ICs. And then again, in the interest of time, there is a fifth scenario in your resource that we added in there just for fun. So you can reference that as well. But with that, I'm going to wrap us up here. If you